Welcome to Shatter.
It wasn't supposed to happen like that. I wasn't supposed to be home that early. She didn't know I left work half an hour ahead of schedule. Didn't know the meeting was canceled. Didn't know I was standing in the hallway, keys still in hand, when her voice came through the bedroom door. It was soft, playful, but not the kind of soft meant for me. "No, I haven't done anything yet," she whispered, then laughed. "But I just feel like I need to try someone else, just to be sure." Silence on the other end. Then more laughter. "It's not like I'm leaving him. I don't know. I want to feel something different. That's not a crime, right?" I didn't breathe. Her back was to the door, sitting cross-legged on our bed like it was just another afternoon, talking to her friend, maybe the same one who used to tag us both in memes about healthy relationships and loyalty over lust. The moment slowed. The air thickened, and I felt something in me, something permanent, snap into place. She hadn't done it yet, but she'd already made the decision. And for me, that was enough. I didn't burst in, didn't confront, didn't ask, "What did you mean by that?" No, I just stood there, long enough to memorize the tone in her voice, the ease, the thrill in her giggle, the way she moved like nothing sacred was being violated. And then I turned, walked quietly back down the hallway, and sat at the kitchen table. Didn't touch my phone, didn't make a sound. I just let the weight of it settle. I think that's what people never understand about betrayal. It doesn't always come with screaming, or hotel receipts, or lipstick on the collar. Sometimes it comes in the form of a whisper, when you weren't meant to hear. But once you do, nothing's ever the same. After that day, I didn't look at her the same. But you wouldn't know it from the outside. I still made coffee in the morning. Still asked how she slept. Still kissed her cheek before heading to work. The only difference was none of it meant anything anymore. It was all routine now. A performance I delivered with calm precision. Because I wasn't staying. Not really. I was studying the exit. Quietly. There's something strange that happens when your heart disconnects before your body does. You become an actor in your own life. Every movement, every word, every nod is deliberate, controlled. She started picking up on it in small ways. The way I didn't flinch when she talked about needing space. The way I didn't press when she stayed late at yoga, or dinner, or whatever excuse the group chat handed her that night. I stopped checking my phone when she was gone. Stopped asking where she was. Stopped showing any trace of investment. That's when she started tilting her head at me like I was a puzzle missing a corner. She asked if I was okay one morning while we brushed our teeth side by side. I said I was fine. Because I was. I was calm in a way that only happens after something's already died. She started talking more. Rambling about her day. Telling me things I didn't ask about. Things she once assumed I wouldn't understand. I nodded. Listened. Even smiled. But none of it reached me. Because by then, I'd already started watching her like a stranger. The woman who used to fall asleep with her head on my chest? She now curled up on the edge of the bed, phone in hand, back turned, smiling at someone through a screen. She hadn't crossed a line yet, but she was leaning over the edge, arms spread wide, ready to jump. And me? I wasn't the safety net anymore. I was the observer, measuring the distance, mapping out my silence like it was a blueprint, because I knew what was coming, and I didn't need a confrontation to prove it. There was no grand decision, no cinematic moment of rage. Just a quiet shift from reacting to preparing. I started archiving our life. Not in a dramatic way, just methodically. Old messages, photos, receipts, screenshots of her social feeds, just in case. I wasn't looking for proof. I already had what I needed, the sound of her voice, saying she wanted someone else. That sentence was the wound. Everything else was just confirmation. I moved slow, deliberate. First, the digital. New email. New two-factor passwords. Private drive she didn't know existed. Then the physical. I began removing my presents from the house. One drawer at a time. The books I actually cared about gone. The watch she bought me that I never wore, left behind. I started renting a small studio space across town. No furniture. No name on the door. Just key access, clean light, and silence. A place to think. To breathe. To become someone separate from the man who held our life together. She didn't notice the absences. At least, not right away. When I stopped asking what she wanted for dinner, she filled the silence with takeout menus and excuses. When I skipped movie night, she scrolled TikTok instead. She thought I was pulling away emotionally. But I wasn't pulling away. I was stepping out. Piece by piece, I was becoming a ghost in my own life. And the strangest part? It was peaceful. There's a quiet that comes after disappointment, where you stop expecting anything at all. No more questions. No more hope. Just calm. She thought the silence meant we were healing, that I was processing, giving her grace, maybe learning to forgive. But forgiveness was never on the table. What I was building wasn't a bridge. It was a door. And when it was ready, I was going to walk through it, without a sound. She didn't notice at first. Not really. She thought I was moody, distracted, maybe going through a phase. But silence has a weight. And eventually, she started to feel it. It began with the small things. She asked me if I was okay. Her tone was light, almost joking, like she expected me to brush it off and go back to normal. I told her I was fine. And I was, just not in the way she understood. She tried again a few days later, this time a little more direct. Said I'd been off. Said she missed how we used to laugh together. Then stood there, waiting for me to fill the gap with something reassuring. I didn't. I just smiled. A calm, practiced smile that gave nothing away. She started getting restless after that, pacing conversations like a boxer trying to bait a punch. She'd bring up old memories. Mention how she turned down a guy at the gym, as if I should react. Dropped hints about how other couples argue, and how it's healthy to fight sometimes. But I didn't bite, because I knew what she was really doing. She was searching for my edge, testing if I still cared enough to break. Because anger means you still feel. Yelling means there's something to fix. Fury still leaves room for forgiveness. But silence is final. It's the sound of the door already closed. And that terrified her. So she changed tactics. Started getting sharp. Asked why I was being so cold. Said it wasn't fair to punish her if I wasn't even going to talk about it. But I wasn't punishing her. I was leaving her, slowly, cleanly. She wanted conflict. Because conflict gives people a script. But I wasn't offering a script. I was offering a mirror. And she didn't like what she saw. I watched her unravel in slow motion. Not from a betrayal, but from the realization that she'd lost something she didn't know how to get back. Because I wasn't trying to hurt her. I just wasn't trying for her anymore. And when a man stops trying, no amount of guilt, charm, or tears can resurrect what's already buried. She said she was going out with friends. No explanation. No effort to soften it. Just the same tone she used when asking me to pass the salt. I didn't ask who. Didn't ask when she'd be back. Didn't pretend to care. I just handed her the keys. She looked at me for a second, like she was waiting for something. A question. A raised eyebrow. Some reaction that proved I still cared enough to stop her. But I didn't give her that. Because I knew something she hadn't realized yet. She had already left. I was just the last to open the door. She got dressed in silence. Put on perfume she never wore around the house. Picked earrings with intention. Checked her reflection twice. Even though she always said she didn't dress up for other people. She paused in the hallway, phone in hand, purse dangling from one shoulder. Then said she'd be back late. I nodded once. She left. And the silence that followed wasn't new. It was just undeniable now. The TV stayed off. The house was still. I sat in the dark and thought about how strange it was to miss someone who hadn't even physically left yet. Around 1 a.m., I heard her heels on the floor. She tried to move quietly, like someone who knew the difference between guilt and regret. I didn't say anything. Didn't turn on the light. Didn't pretend I had waited up. I was in bed, eyes closed, breathing slow. But I wasn't asleep. I just didn't want to give her the satisfaction of knowing I noticed she came back. She stood in the doorway for a moment, then turned and went to the bathroom. Maybe she expected a question in the morning, a cold shoulder, a delayed argument. But I gave her none of it. Because nothing is louder than a man who no longer reacts. She tried small talk the next day. Said something about brunch plans or needing new shoes. I can't remember. I wasn't listening anymore. My body was there. But my spirit had moved out long before she walked into that club. And that's the moment I stopped loving her. Not because of what she did that night, but because she walked out knowing I might break and still hoped I would. I left on a Tuesday. Early. Before sunrise. While the world still looked innocent and quiet. No bags dragged down the hallway. No slamming doors. No final glance over my shoulder. Just keys placed gently on the counter. And silence. The same silence I'd lived in for months. She was still asleep when I walked out. Breathing softly, curled up on her side of the bed. Unaware that by the time she opened her eyes, something permanent would be gone. I didn't leave a note. What was there to write? She knew. Not in her conscious mind maybe, but somewhere deep in her. She knew the countdown had been ticking ever since she whispered those words to her friend. I need to try someone else. She just never expected it to be me who vanished. That night, she sent the first message. Where are you? I read it. Didn't answer. An hour later, another. Can we talk? And there it was. The beginning of her unraveling. Because she didn't think it would actually happen. She thought I'd stay. Thought I'd wait it out. Thought silence meant weakness, not freedom. But now, she had exactly what she asked for. Space. She just didn't realize space could echo this loudly. I watched the calls come in. Ignored every one. Watched as the messages got longer, more emotional, more confused. She was trying to find the version of me that still cared. Still responded. Still needed to explain. But that man was gone. She buried him herself. One indifferent smile, one night out, one careless sentence at a time. I didn't block her. That would have been mercy. That would have given her a clean ending. Instead, I let her speak into the void. Message after message that went nowhere. Because the most painful goodbye is the one that never gets answered. The first few days after I left, she kept texting. Not angry. Just confused. She asked where I went. If I was okay. If this was really about that one conversation. But she knew. She just didn't want to admit it. Because admitting it meant accepting that one moment. One sentence whispered into a phone. Carried more weight than she ever imagined. She tried to call late one night. 3 times. Then again in the morning. The messages started shifting. From calm. Can we talk? To reflective. I didn't mean it the way it sounded. To desperate. I messed up. I know that now. Just, please. I didn't reply. Not out of cruelty. Not out of spite. But because I had nothing left to say. I'd already said everything in the way I left. She needed me to react. To scream. To cry. To fall apart. So she could place herself back into the role of comforter or victim. But I denied her the performance. And without it, she started unraveling. Mutual friends started messaging me. Soft, cautious questions. She's been asking about you. She's worried. Says she didn't think it would go this far. But it did. Because she pushed it this far. One friend told me she hadn't been sleeping. That she stayed in most nights now. That the same clubs she once ran to no longer felt like freedom, just noise. She used to be surrounded by people, lights, sound. Now, she sat alone in the apartment we used to share. Walking through a silence she never imagined I could weaponize. She never understood that silence isn't the absence of words. It's the presence of everything left unsaid. That's what she had now. Not abandonment. Not punishment. Just space. The very thing she once asked for. The thing she thought would help her figure it out. Now she had all the room in the world to try someone else. But suddenly, no one else felt right. Because she thought I'd be there, waiting. But I wasn't. I saw her once, weeks after I left. By chance. Not planned. Not orchestrated like some cinematic reunion. I was picking up coffee in a quiet corner of the city, the kind of place she never liked. Too plain. Too real. And there she was. Standing in line. Alone. No makeup. Hair pulled back. Wearing something practical instead of curated. She didn't notice me at first. But I saw her instantly. And for a moment, I just stood there, watching the woman who used to build her identity around being seen, now hoping not to be recognized. When she finally looked up, her eyes widened. Like her mind needed a second to register what her body already knew. I wasn't hers anymore. She took a slow step forward, mouth slightly open, maybe to say my name, maybe to apologize. I didn't give her the chance. I nodded, calm and distant. Polite, but final. The way you acknowledge someone you used to know. Her lips parted like she wanted to explain something, to pull us back into conversation, to create a moment. But there was nothing left to create. Because she wasn't meeting the man who left. She was meeting the man who came after, the one she built without realizing it. Every time she chose attention over intimacy, performance over partnership, herself over us. I turned to leave. And just before I stepped outside, I said one thing. Not loud, not bitter, just clear. You said you needed to try someone else. I hope it was worth it. She didn't respond. Because there was no answer that could fix the echo of that sentence. That was the last time I saw her. And honestly, I didn't feel a thing. No rage. No sorrow. Just peace. Because the greatest revenge isn't proving her wrong. It's living in a life where her name no longer matters. After that last encounter, the messages stopped. No more can we talk. No more, I didn't mean it like that. Just silence. But not mine, hers. That's how I knew it was really over. Because people like her don't stop until they realize the audience is gone. She didn't want me back. She wanted to be seen, to be forgiven, to be heard, to be centered again. But silence is the only language I speak now. And she never learned it. She thought I was just hurt, that I needed time, that eventually, I'd come back to orbit around her like before. But there was no storm this time. No fight. Just calm. Just distance. She became a name on a list I no longer scroll. A muted contact. A memory I don't revisit. People ask if I miss her. If I regret not confronting her when I overheard that conversation. If I ever think about how things could have gone differently. I don't. Because I didn't lose her. I just stopped pretending she was still mine. She made her choice when she said she needed to try someone else. I simply honored it. She got what she wanted, space, options, freedom. She just never expected that it would feel so empty when I didn't wait for her on the other side. I rebuilt from scratch. New apartment. New routines. New version of me that doesn't beg to be chosen, because I finally chose myself. And her? Last I heard, she was still looking. Not for me, for meaning. For a version of herself that didn't require constant validation. But that's no longer my concern. She's not my problem to solve. Not my echo to carry. She's just a chapter 1 closed. A warning sign I now recognize. A hard lesson. One I'll only need to learn once. I never blocked her. Not because I was waiting, but because silence lasts longer than goodbye. At first, her messages kept coming. Little things. A memory. A photo. A voice note that sounded casual, but wasn't. She was searching. Not for answers, for my attention. For proof that I still lived in the version of reality where she mattered. But I didn't. She had no idea where I was. I changed cities. Changed routines. Changed into someone who no longer even flinched at the sound of her name. She was used to versions of love that fought, that slammed doors, that cried and came back. But I didn't come back. Because when a man stops chasing, he doesn't pause. He disappears. And she wasn't chasing me anyway. She was chasing who I used to be, before she shattered him. I built a new life. I slept through the nights she used to ruin. I smiled in rooms where no one asked me to explain myself. People think closure comes with a final talk, a dramatic sit-down. But real closure is when you no longer want it. One day, I opened my phone and saw her name again. No message. Just a missed call. A flicker of the past trying to drag me back. I stared at it for a few seconds. Then turned off the screen. Didn't delete it. Didn't save it. Just let it sit there. Meaningless. That's when I knew it was really over. Not because she stopped trying, but because I stopped noticing. I wasn't angry anymore. Wasn't waiting. Wasn't even remembering. I had simply outgrown her. She wanted to try someone else. Now she can. And me? I'm not the one who walked away from her. She did that long before I ever packed a bag. Long before the silence. All I did was give her what she asked for. Space. Freedom. And now distance. She's alone in it. And I'm not even watching. Real men don't explode. They exit. Subscribe for more power stories.